you guys? I'm so excited to be here today with a couple of my favorite people, both named Paul, by the way. But we, but we have something really exciting to talk to you about today. And one of my dear friends, Dr. Paul, is going to be explaining this to us. And it's really made a difference in my life. And so I'm super excited to bring him on here today and let him share something that I really believe is cutting edge and something that that is not new, but for me was absolutely new. And for you, it will probably be new. But let me just talk to you a little bit about Dr. Paul. So he's lectured across the world for over 22 years. 14 years ago, he set out to educate the world on the vast benefits of hydrogen gas in the body. Okay, I had no idea we even had hydrogen gas in the body, but I know a lot of you guys already know that. So, but let's talk about that for a minute. So hydrogen gas, which is H2, reduces oxidative stress and inflammation. And inflammation, we know, is the leading cause of disease. Another great thing that I love about hydrogen is that it is really great for your gut health. And I know we talk about that a lot, about the importance of gut health. Today, there are over 1,250 studies showing hydrogen gas to be therapeutic with over 200 disease models. This is awesome. And he's going to talk all about this. Now, Dr. Paul has done something really genius and also fascinating to me. He's developed the Echo Hydrogen Water System. Dr. Paul's been on numerous TV shows in the US, in Germany, and in Switzerland. He is passionate about the prevention of pathologies, and he developed the best resource for studying hydrogen gas. He's got a website that he's going to talk to us a little bit about later. But something else that I love about this hydrogen is professional athletes use it all the time for recovery. And Paul and I talk a lot about, you guys know we do the cold plunge. We talk a lot about recovery time and being able to be the best at whatever sport we're playing. And I know that he's got a lot of professional athletes who use his water system and getting that hydrogen gas into their body. So with that, I am going to turn the time over to Dr. Paul, who's like a wonderful friend of mine. He's just got a heart of gold. And we are so excited, Dr. Paul, that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much. That was really sweet. And I feel like you're a good friend too. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. So, yes, I would love to introduce you all or educate you all on hydrogen and the vast benefits of the body. So, let's dive in so we can understand. So, this is me on ABC here in Utah. I do live in Utah. And I was on ABC4 talking about our devices and what have you. And I have lectured, Europe, England, all over the world. And really, it's been trying to educate people because most people still to this day do not know that all of their pains and issues and diseases and all this kind of stuff can be greatly benefited or helped with hydrogen. And so let's get into the why. I did develop the system, the Echo water systems, to help people accomplish their divine potential. And really, it's about reducing, as Cheryl said, oxidative stress and chronic inflammation in the body, which is the leading cause of disease. So, who we are as a company is we are delivering clean, hydrogen enriched water to the body. And this entire presentation is to educate you on why we do that. Because for many of you, this may be the first time you're ever hearing of hydrogen gas as a therapy, or hydrogen gas as a modality, or hydrogen gas as something that your body is supposed to be producing. And so we're going to learn a lot of cool stuff today. Echo Water, we discovered the health benefits of hydrogen gas and pioneered the water system to isolate and dissolve hydrogen into the water. And the reason we do this is to empower individuals to accomplish their highest potential. So we want the body to function the way it was designed to function. Now, this is where it all started. On a cruise in 2005, November 30th. So, almost that time of year again, my wife and I, this is my wife, we've almost 30 years of marriage now. But back then we were married for just over 10 years. And she, my sweetheart, had been sick for many, many, many years. And the thyroid issues, gynecological issues, anemia, many, many issues. Her menstrual cycles were just horrific, painful for her, and she really couldn't get out of bed for an entire week per month. And so, me as a young married husband, I wanted to do everything I could to help her. And that's really what started Echo Water. That's what started. I didn't wake up one day and go, wow, I want to make a water machine. Like, that wasn't on my list of to-dos. That wasn't on my bucket list of accomplishments in life. But really, it was helping my sweetheart and wanting to have her not suffering every single month. And so, interestingly, I'll show you a little video that we did years ago. You can kind of tell that we're a little younger then, but here is a video explaining our story.
We are Paul and Jacqueline Baratero. This is our story. 12 years ago, my sweetheart, we had been married 10 years at that time, and during that first 10 years of marriage, every single month when she had her cycle, it was horrible. It was an experience where she could hardly get out of bed. This was just something we were used to. This was life for us. And 12 years ago, some dear friends of ours invited us to go on a cruise as a fun gift that they gave us. And during that cruise, they took water. Now, sunglasses, suntan lotion, bathing suits, cameras, video cameras, all the kind of things you might bring on a cruise. I never thought of water bringing on a cruise because they have it on the ship. So I told them, they have water on the ship. I've been on cruises before. And they're like, no, you don't want to drink that water. You want to drink this water. And so, of course, me thinking that was a little bit odd, I said, fine, bring it. If you can bring it on the ship, that's no problem. Well, we arrived on the ship. I remember we arrived on that ship and they had a whole suitcase of water, 8 gallons. We had a 9-day cruise. They brought water for them, brought water for us. And I thought, okay, so we rolled this suitcase of water to our room. And again, I'm like, okay, it's all good. I drank some of the water and I thought it tasted wonderful and tasted like great water to me, but I didn't sprout wings. Nothing amazing happened in that moment. And so I just thought it was wonderful, good tasting water. Now, Jacqueline, on the other hand, had a very different experience.
I did. At that time, I was dealing with thyroid issues, anemia, and gynecological issues that were affecting my health. In fact, going on the cruise was difficult, even getting ready to go and arrive there. When I drank the water, it was very interesting. I almost, after drinking 1 glass, almost instantly felt a change in my energy level, and the taste of the water was great. And I told Paul, I said, I feel like I've never had water to drink before. My body is actually craving it. And I started drinking all of our water and ended up drinking all of their water as well, because I started feeling well and was functioning differently almost immediately.
Absolutely. And I remember that experience. When she was in the cabin that first day and couldn't hardly get out of bed, I was going back to the art auctions, back and forth to the pool, coming back, and just feeling sad, as typical each month for my sweetheart, because she was having a tough time. Well, as she would drink this water, I noticed she was getting better and better each day, faster than normal, and she was able to participate in this cruise. Well, fast forward now, we're home from the cruise, and here my wife is going to our friend's place of business to pick up water, 1 gallon at a time. And I thought, wow, she's going back and back and back and getting this water. Why is that? Well, I asked her, why are you going back? And she said, I feel so great. I feel better and better each day, and I'm getting better. And I thought, wow. So I, of course, being the skeptical husband that we many times are as men, I said, okay, sounds great to me. You drink the magic water. I'm going to drink whatever. And just went on with our married life. Well, in about 6 months, I really started noticing some differences where typically she would have been on her menstrual cycle, and we were having a little family council and said, hey, when is your cycle? And she said, I'm on it. And we all stopped and was like, wait a minute, you left the house. Actually, the kids said, you left the house. And this was like a miracle event. And I remember that moment and having a realization that, wait a minute, this is my wife. she hasn't changed anything else in her daily regime but drinking this water. And it has had such a profound effect on her and therefore our entire family as well. So this...
Okay, so that is really what caused me to really do research. Once my wife was feeling better and I was experiencing that, she literally, we wouldn't know when she was on her cycle. And that went from her being stuck in bed for an entire week to now us not knowing when she was on her cycle over a 6-month period. And so I was like, what on earth is going on? And so I started to do a deep dive. And I came to understand that hydrogen was the mechanism, what we call the mechanism in medicine, that was the cause of the benefits. So I'd like to shift gears and help you understand why hydrogen gas is critical for health. And the foundational principle that I want you to understand is the first bullet point on this screen is the fact that the body is designed to produce hydrogen gas. But this can only happen if the gut is working properly. So let's talk about that for a second, because many people talk about gut issues. Many people talk about gut dysfunction. Many people talk about all over the internet, all over the world, medical, conferences, whatever. Everyone's talking about the gut. And you hear things like, leaky gut. You hear all these terms that really don't make sense. And not that they don't try to explain it, but it makes no sense that that's what would cause gut dysfunction. And so I want to break it down for each of you to really understand what gut dysfunction means, what is wrong, how we can fix it the fastest way, and why hydrogen is the most effective way to fix the gut rapidly so that people have immune function, they don't have inflammation and oxidative stress and all these things that occur when you have gut dysfunction. So to understand gut dysfunction, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but I want to introduce a concept to you really quickly so you have it in your mind, and then I'm going to talk about it a second time in just a few slides so we can go into it a little deeper. For the gut to function properly, what that really means is that the bacteria type in the gut is anaerobic microflora. To oversimplify this conversation, you have two main types of bacteria in the gut, aerobic and anaerobic. What we are supposed to have is 96 to 99% of the bacteria of the gut is and should be anaerobic microflora. Only 1 to 4% should be aerobic. Now, when we take an antibiotic, when we have what we call gut dysfunction, it is because we have more aerobic bacteria than we should. That's going to automatically cause carb and sugar craving, anxiety, depression, all the things that people are experiencing today. What we have to do is change the electrical potential, or what we call the polarity of the tissue in the gut, to a negative electrical potential, and specifically a negative 300 to 400 millivolts of electrical potential. And when we get that, that will cause our gut to work properly. And then we can produce hydrogen gas. And the reason we would want to produce hydrogen gas is because of these bullet points on this page and the following page as well. So bullet point number 2, hydrogen can reverse gut dysfunction. And I just gave you a little tiny synopsis of how that happens, but we're going to go into it a little deeper in just a minute. Also, hydrogen modulates oxidation to prevent oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Now, oxidation is normal and natural, but oxidative stress is when oxidation has risen too high in the body, and now we have cell failure. That's what oxidative stress does. The body tries to help itself by creating inflammation, but that's a temporary fix. And if we don't take away the oxidative stress, then we'll have chronic inflammation, and the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is disease. And so this is your pathway, how people end up contracting a disease model, is the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. That's where disease comes from. Now, hydrogen will increase the immune function. The reason this is happening is because the gut is being helped. And 70% of immune function is believed to be tied to the bacteria in the gut and the health of the gut. So hydrogen will increase immune function and mitochondrial function, which is your energy, your ATP production. Hydrogen improves brain and neuroprotective. It has a neuroprotective effect. And this is all due to ghrelin secretions, which we'll go over in a few minutes. Hydrogen is needed for digestion. Something as simple as stomach acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid. The H is hydrogen. So you can't even make hydrochloric acid or stomach acid without hydrogen in the body. So something as simple as digestion is dependent upon hydrogen. Now, there's some other things that I have on this last bullet, like telomeres. I'm sure all of you are very aware of telomeres. This is an indicator of anti-aging, how long the telomeres are on the end of a DNA strand. And what's interesting is hydrogen will lengthen or increase the size or length of a telomere in a healthy cell. But in a cancer cell, it will shorten telomere length, which is exactly what we would want. You can see circadian rhythm, lipid and glucose metabolism, which will absolutely apply to diabetes when we talk about it later. Nitric oxide production. A lot of people are taking products from nitric oxide. There are 3 types of nitric oxide, and one of them, the only way to get it is to have hydrogen in the body. We can see peptide, natural occurring peptides are also stimulated by hydrogen. Electron transport, which a lot of people don't know or understand the importance of that, but that's the ability for electrical flow in the body. That's the ability for electrons to flow, which you cannot heal without electrons. So understand, electron transport speeds up to a trillionth of a second, or what we call a picosecond, when hydrogen is present. And of course, we'll talk about plasticity and we'll talk about the function of the brain a little bit later when we go over a couple studies. But this is the first bullet points. I want you to understand why hydrogen is critical. And of course, these are very critical things. Now, let's talk about some benefits. Number 1, hydrogen is a selective antioxidant. I know you've all heard of antioxidants before, and typically you would think of an antioxidant being an electron donor. In other words, it has an extra electron. It's going to donate that extra electron and complete something else. And then, of course, that antioxidant becomes what we call a pro-oxidant, and so it becomes a problem. Now, the beautiful thing about hydrogen is neutral. It does not have an extra electron, so it does not function like a traditional antioxidant. It is a modulator. It's a signal modulator. And so hydrogen being understood in 2008, 2009, there was a study published by Nature Medicine that we'll go over in just a second that showed hydrogen to be a selective antioxidant. In other words, it only reaches and reacts with cell-damaging oxygen radicals. That's why it's selective. It didn't touch or bother the radicals in the body that have a physiological role or are beneficial to life. Hydrogen only went after and disrupted the bad or the negative or the cell damaging radicals, oxygen radicals, particularly in the human body. So this woke everyone up. And that's why we have 1,250 studies, because in 2008 and 2009, when Nature Medicine published the first study on hydrogen being a selective antioxidant, everyone was like, well, what the heck else does it do? If it's a selective antioxidant, we've never heard of such a thing. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Now, second bullet, it prevents disease by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. Now, I don't know about you, but anything that truly prevents disease is very, very valuable to the public, to the population, to anyone you're coaching. To be able to prevent disease is everything. The last thing on earth we want is a disease. It's not only inconvenient, highly, but it can be painful. It can be life disrupting. It can be expensive. So we definitely want to prevent disease rather than fix it after we get it. Number 3 bullet point, significant neuroprotective effects. So we talk about Parkinson's, we talk about Alzheimer's, we talk about all kinds of different brain-related issues, hydrogen will selectively stimulate gastric ghrelin, which is a growth hormone. You have leptin and you have ghrelin that are two master hormones. Hydrogen will selectively stimulate gastric ghrelin and have huge neuroprotective effects to prevent neuro-related disease models like Parkinson's. And we'll go over a study in just a few minutes on Parkinson's. Joint issues. A lot of people in the world deal with joint issues, which come from oxidative stress and inflammation, rheumatoid arthritis, other types of arthritic conditions, and hydrogen undoes those or helps to get rid of those things. So there are studies on rheumatoid arthritis, there are studies on other joint issues that hydrogen will relieve. Increases energy and mitochondrial function. So this is a big one. A lot of people feel tired in the afternoon. A lot of people feel fatigue in life in general. And so hydrogen can give them a lift in life. It can give them increased energy because it's offloading hydroxyl radicals, which are the most cytotoxic oxygen radical. Going back to bullet number 1, the most cytotoxic and the most damaging radical in the human body is a hydroxyl radical. And that's the first study that we'll go over from Nature Medicine showing that hydrogen stopped that radical from working in the body. Hydrogen is anti-cancer. There's currently 117 cancer studies showing huge benefits with cancer. And we'll go over a study with colon cancer a little bit later. Diabetes, you have 62 studies. And this is near and dear to my heart because I spent many years in and related to diabetes with amputation, preventing amputations, preventing, what we call ulcers on the plantar surface of the foot. It was a big part of my life. And so when I learned that hydrogen water can basically change diabetes or stop the disease in many people, not all, but many people, this was huge for me and shifted my life completely. Again, we talk about the gut. Everything relates back to the gut, and we can fix the gut or rehab the gut in 2 weeks. And what I mean by that is people that have gluten and dairy intolerance or other food allergies based on the gut not functioning properly, many of them are reporting that within 2 weeks, they're eating foods they haven't been able to eat in many years. Some up to 10 years are saying, I'm eating foods now I haven't been able to eat in 10 years. So understand that this is huge for people that are on a mono diet or other things. Also reduces recovery times and fatigue. For athletes, Cheryl brought this up earlier, for athletes, pro or amateur, doesn't matter, they don't want long recovery times. They want to be able to perform and push their body to be able to do everything they need to do. They don't want to have huge recovery times. And so hydrogen reduces the recovery times at least in half. So let's get into gut issues and the fact that they affect 90% of the population that are all around us. So 90% of the human beings that you are around, you're friends with, family members, whoever, you have, or they have, if it's 90%, it's a lot of you probably that may have some gut dysfunction. The reality is 90% of the population are affected by gut issues. Let's look at this study that was published many years ago on how to fix the gut, which helped me in creating the Echo machines to make sure that we have this built into the function of the machine. So as I said, 96 to 99% of the friendly or residential microflora in the intestinal tract consists of strict anaerobes. Only 1 to 4% are aerobes. If we go to the middle of this paragraph, it says anaerobes do not grow unless the value is negative between a negative 300 millivolts and a 400 millivolts. So that's a strong statement. And we need to understand it's saying that these bacteria that are necessary for the gut to function properly will not grow unless the tissue in the gastrointestinal tract has an electrical potential of negative 300 to negative 400 millivolts. And if it doesn't have it, you cannot have a community of appropriate bacteria. This is why people are struggling is because once the polarity is shifted after antibiotics, after heavy metals, after pesticides, after whatever, you cannot switch it back without specifically doing so. And this is what hydrogen does. Hydrogen will switch the polarity and get the value of -300, -400 millivolts within the first day. So you can see in the yellow area, electrolyzed reduced water with values between a 0 and -300 produce an electrolysis device possess this property. Drinking such water favors the growth of residential microflora in the gut. So this is one of the things I read, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what we're doing. I didn't know before. When I came across this study, I'm like, oh, this explains exactly what we were doing and why everyone's like, my gut is feeling better. I don't have issues anymore. I don't have pain. I don't have all these problems. So understand, this is just simply a study showing what. And so as a little bit of a synopsis, hydrogen can fix the gut by changing the electrical potential of the gut tissue to a -400 millivolts, which changes the terrain in the biome so that proper bacteria create communities and thrive. This is critical for immune function, management of radicals, disease, oxidants, inflammation, etc. So this is how we fix a gut in less than 2 weeks. There's no other way to do it other than to change the electrical potential of the tissue. Every other way to do it is going to take a long time. And if people have gut issues, they are running the risk of getting sick again, having to take another antibiotic and resetting the entire process, which can take naturally up to 2 years to get the gut bacteria back to what it was before the initial antibiotic. So being able to change the gut in 2 weeks is huge because it's rapid, it's fast. People can have their life back. So this is one of the greatest things you can do for someone. And understand, if we're saying that pesticides are where the damage comes from, people are eating pesticides every day. So they're damaging their gut every day. When they get our water system into their life, they start drinking the water that repairs the gut while they're eating the food that's damaging the gut. And they end up counteracting that process by drinking the water every single day with hydrogen gas in it. Okay.
Now, Dr. Paul, I have a quick question for
yes.
you. A lot of our people watching this will be taking some sort of probiotics.
Yes.
To put more flora in our. So just to understand you correctly, the flora or the good flora from probiotics can't grow properly. You can't
Correct.
grow good flora in your gut without the right numbers or the right
the electrical potential. Yeah. So as far as probiotics, nothing wrong in the world with taking probiotics, and there's about 100 different strains you can choose for different things. But what I would say is if you're not hydrated, probiotics have very little effect on the body. So number one, if you're taking probiotics, you should be properly hydrated, because otherwise you're going to have very little effect. That's number one. Number two, it's a Band-Aid if you don't change the electrical potential. And that means you're going to be taking probiotics all the time and you're going to be helping yourself, but it's a Band-Aid. You're never going to actually create communities of bacteria until you get the terrain and the biome suitable for them. So what would be the perfect thing would be to drink the water, which will create the biome and the terrain that's perfectly suitable for anaerobic microflora. Then to help the process even more, take the probiotics so that you can help that process even go faster. And again, you're going to be eating foods with probiotics, with pesticides. And so there's nothing wrong with taking probiotics after you fix your gut. It's going to help. But we've got to keep the terrain and the biome, the right electrical potential. And the way to do that is by drinking the water that has the hydrogen gas in it, because that hydrogen is what is actually creating the biome and the terrain, because of the hydrogen being electron dense or electron rich. So nothing wrong with probiotics, but we need to get the gastrointestinal tract to a -400 millivolts so that the biome and the terrain is perfectly prepared for anaerobic microflora. Great question, Paul. Thank you. Perfect. So oxidative stress and inflammation also affects. So a couple minutes ago, we looked at Gut issues affect 90+%. Interestingly, oxidative stress and inflammation affects 90%. Obviously, there's a tie there. So let's talk about oxidative stress and inflammation. As I said earlier, oxidation is normal and natural, and you have to have oxidation in the body to live. What we don't want is oxidative stress. This is where cell function is damaged or stopped. And so what we have is oxidative stress, which is caused by an imbalance between the production and accumulation of reactive oxygen species in cells and tissues, and the inability or the ability of a biological system to detoxify these reactive species. When our gut is not functioning, or what we call dysfunction, we are not able to be counteracting all the ROS that's happening, the reactive oxygen species that are being produced. We are not able to detoxify these as a system, which is why we end up with oxidative stress and inflammation, which turns into chronic inflammation, and that's where disease comes from. So hydrogen can help with that. Here is a simple slide showing some of the disease models caused by oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. And I'm sure most of you had no idea that bipolar disorder was caused by oxidative stress and inflammation. Dementia, depression, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, ALS, ADHD, OCD, all these kind of things are caused by oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. And we can get to heart, kidney, skin. I mean, you can go all the way around the body and you can see all the issues that are caused by the combination of oxidative stress and inflammation. And so hydrogen can help with all these issues. Even something like wrinkles, acne, dermatitis, psoriasis. Please understand that we can help all of these things that people are struggling from. Now, let's get into some studies. I love science. I love chemistry. And let's get into the actual review. So, as Cheryl mentioned in my bio, we created a website called hydrogenstudies.com. It is the best resource available to do study on hydrogen-related studies. So all you would do is go to hydrogenstudies.com, and you'll see how many studies. We're always updating it. So next time you go, it might be 1,300 studies. I don't know. But you can search in body part, subject, something like nitric oxide, CoQ10, whatever you want to type in, cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, whatever it is. You can type in certain organs, you can type in conditions, you can type in whatever you're curious about. Type it in, and if there is a related study that's been indexed in the system for that, they will populate. And so this is the way we designed it. Now, if you go down on that page, when you land, you'll see this. If you scroll down the page, you'll see from 1995, but just to tell you a secret, we're actually going back to 1975. We have studies in there on hydrogen hyperbaric for cancer going back to 1975, 1978 in the United States. But we're showing 1995 because 1975, it would be like barely a line there. So we're showing the graph. And what you see is 2008 and then 2009, the studies began to really increase. And that, again, was based on the Nature Medicine study showing that hydrogen was a selective antioxidant. And so that's where everyone was like, whoa. And so we just haven't published. You see 2023 is low. That's because we haven't published. We need to publish all the studies that were done in 2023, and that line will be much higher. But the thing I want to show you is over on the left, you see human studies. 18.4% of the 1,250 studies are human, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. So that's 217 studies. Very powerful. Now, here is hydrogenstudies.com. And the thing that I want to understand is, one thing you don't ever want to do is you don't ever want to tell someone, hey, there's 117 studies on cancer and your cancer is guaranteed to be fixed or whatever. Do not talk about things from a curative perspective or what we would call a medical claim. Don't go there because it's inappropriate. You should never read a study and go, oh, that's what's going to happen to you, because there's no guarantee in that. And so what we can say is we want to research these studies. We got 1,250 studies, 3,000 articles telling us that hydrogen has huge benefits, but that doesn't mean it's a guarantee. So use it in that way and communicate the message appropriately. We're like, look, there's no guarantee. However, here's 117 studies on cancer with no negatives, all positives. So, it's a pretty good chance this is going to benefit you. And that's really what you want to talk about. This is for purposes of education, 100%. And you don't want to tell someone, hey, this is a guarantee. Here's the Nature Medicine study. Now, Nature Medicine is the most respected periodical and science producer in the world. If a study is published by Nature Medicine, it has been thoroughly investigated, thoroughly established. They don't publish it unless it's very good. So here you see the study saying hydrogen acts as a therapeutic antioxidant by selectively reducing cytotoxic oxygen radicals. Now, remember what cytotoxic means. Cell damaging. That's what cytotoxic. So this is saying that hydrogen prevents cell damage from oxygen radicals. So if we go all the way to the bottom, you can see, thus H2 can be used as an effective antioxidant therapy, owing its ability to rapidly diffuse across membranes. It can reach and react with cytotoxic reactive oxygen species and thus protect against oxidative damage. This is what we want to understand, is that we can protect people against oxidative damage. And why is that important? Again, that's your leading cause of disease. And so we want to help people not contract a disease when possible. Now, we've talked a lot about gut issues. Here is the World Journal of Gastroenterology talking about hydrogen-rich water protects against inflammatory bowel disease. And we can go down to the bottom where it says conclusion. Instead of going through all the results, there's a lot of information in here with interleukins and different things. But the bottom line is hydrogen-rich water has a significant therapeutic potential in inflammatory bowel disease by inhibiting inflammatory factors, oxidative stress, and ER stress, and by upregulating HO1 expression. So it's what's called a heme oxygenase 1. So understand that this is a good study talking about inflammatory bowel disease. Now, I chose this one instead of, Crohn's or colitis. We have studies on all those things as well. But when you say IBD or inflammatory bowel disease, it covers a large area of disease models. And it just helps us understand that for a wide swath of the population, it's going to help their bowels. It's going to help them. Okay. Now, here's diabetes. This study was published in 2008. I always love to joke and go, have you heard about it? Well, why haven't you heard about a study that was published in 2008, for heaven's sakes? Why? There are 30 to 50 million people in the United States alone that have diabetes. And then we can talk about pre-diabetics. We can talk about millions of people in our country that are suffering from diabetes and pre-diabetic. The damage is being done every day and they don't know. And yet, at the end of this study, it says what? In conclusion, these results suggest that supplementation with hydrogen-rich water may have a beneficial role in prevention of type 2 diabetes mellitus and insulin resistance. Shouldn't people know about this? Like, shouldn't this be shouted from the rooftops and on the, the evening news? Like, holy cow, if we have millions upon millions of people in this country that are suffering from diabetes and losing limbs and toes and all kinds of eyesight and all these things, shouldn't we be telling them, hey, you might just be able to drink some water with hydrogen gas in it and it can help you? Like, what a concept. So let's talk about a couple of the things in this study. First, I want to make sure I'm telling you truth. So what's the first line? Oxidative stress is recognized widely as being associated with various disorders, including diabetes, hypertension, and atherosclerosis. It is well established that hydrogen has a reducing action. So they knew it reduces oxidative stress. So they wanted to see what happens with glucose metabolism with patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus or impaired glucose tolerance. This was a random double-blind study with 30 patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus and 6 patients with impaired glucose tolerance. They were either given 900 ml or 16 ounces of placebo water or 16 ounces of hydrogen water for 8 weeks. Then they had a 12-week washout period, and then they tested them and showed. So not only did 80% of the people with impaired glucose tolerance have normalization, but so did type 2 diabetes mellitus individuals. The glucose level was normalized. Now, in addition to that, they saw a 15.5% reduction of cholesterol. Now, why on earth would cholesterol be reduced? Because you've reduced oxidative stress and inflammation. And so now the veins and vessels are no longer at risk of hemorrhaging because their plasticity came back, and the body then takes back the cholesterol it put there in the first place. So this is a really cool, fun thing that we learned in this study, that cholesterol can be reduced by hydrogen water. Now we have many studies showing this, but this is very important to understand for those that have diabetes, that they can drink water with hydrogen gas in it and have huge benefits. Let's talk about colon cancer. This was a study done in 2015. Again, not a recent study. It was done many years ago in Japan. And what do we read? The very first line: oxidative stress is involved in cancer development. Again, what I've told you is correct. And what does it say next? Hydrogen is a potent antioxidant and exhibits anti-inflammatory and potentially anti-cancer-like activity. Now, so what do we learn from this? They already knew that hydrogen was a potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, but they didn't know what it would do for cancer. Now we have 117 studies, but they wanted to understand what would happen with colon cancer and other types of cancer. And what they learned here was 2 major things. Apoptosis was benefited. Now, apoptosis is a beautiful thing. When we have cells that are duplicating improperly, because of apoptosis, those cells will destroy themselves. And this is what keeps us only proper cells dividing in our body and not improper cells. I mean, could you imagine if there was no such thing as apoptosis? Cells would be dividing improperly, and we would end up with all kinds of crazy mutant cells in our body and be really screwed up as human beings. Because of apoptosis, these cells are destroying themselves. Somehow, when a healthy cell becomes a cancer cell, apoptosis is turned off. So in this study, it showed hydrogen water enhanced cell apoptosis. So in other words, hydrogen water turned that back on. And so in this study, the cancer cells were destroying themselves. Beautiful science. We also learned, they say, and we'll read the bottom, it says, high content hydrogen water exhibited stronger antioxidative and anti-cancer activity than did natural hydrogen water. Wait a minute, that's a new concept, natural hydrogen water. Well, there are many places on Earth that water naturally has hydrogen gas. This particular water they got was from Mount Fuji in Japan, and it had hydrogen gas in it. So again, this is a natural thing, but I am saving you from having to go climb Mount Fuji to get hydrogen water, and we're allowing you to have it in your home and in your clients' homes. So what did we learn? There was natural hydrogen water, but high content hydrogen water, like comes from our machine, had a stronger antioxidative and anti-cancer activity. And then it says what? I always like getting to the conclusion. In conclusion, high content hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer. That's a very powerful statement. And this is particularly in combination with 5-fluorouracil. Now, what is 5-fluorouracil? It is a chemotherapy drug of choice for colon cancer. So they were investigating in this study hydrogen water by itself, and they said it had a very strong anti-cancer activity. Then they looked at 5-fluorouracil, then they combined them. And so hydrogen water had a very high anti-cancer activity in the body. But when they combined the chemotherapy and hydrogen together, it was 100% cancer cell death. Why? Apoptosis. Hydrogen turned back on apoptosis so that the cancer cells destroyed themselves. So very good study, very good to understand. Again, no guarantee, but it's pretty strong language. When it says in a study, high content hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer, very, very powerful language. Let's talk about Elite. athletes. We've talked about athletes. You're all coaches. I would have to believe that you're coaching people that are exercising, and that's part of what you're doing, is getting them to move their body. So this was 10 male soccer players, and they were either given placebo water or hydrogen water. They were looking to see through knee extension when their exercise-induced muscle decline would happen. So if we look at the middle yellow part, it says peak torque of placebo water significantly decreased during maximal isokinetic knee extension, suggesting muscle fatigue. But peak torque of hydrogen water didn't decrease at early phase. There was no significant change in blood oxidative injury markers or creatine kinase after exercise. So there was no fatigue. And then later we'll see where it says conclusion, adequate hydration with hydrogen-rich water pre-exercise, and it was half an hour, by the way, reduced blood lactate levels and improved exercise-induced muscle decline. So understand that this is very powerful. And of course they say that, hey, this might be a good thing to drink if you're an athlete. But the point that we're making is we can help people and their function of their body be better, or what it's supposed to be naturally, by putting hydrogen back in the body. This is what they should have had anyways. I know it's shocking to you all, but I didn't create hydrogen. I'm simply created a machine to put hydrogen in water so that our bodies can do what they were designed to do from the beginning. We shouldn't be having fatigue. We shouldn't be having tons of disease models. We shouldn't have all kinds of issues that we're experiencing today, because hydrogen should be in the body. I got Cheryl there. That was good. So the therapeutic potential. Let's read the next one. This is Parkinson's disease. This is a horrible disease. No one should ever, ever, ever even want this disease or wish it upon anyone else. And what does it say? It says the therapeutic potential of molecular hydrogen is emerging in a number of human diseases and their animal models, including in particular Parkinson's disease. H2 supplementation of drinking water has been shown to exert disease-modifying effects in Parkinson's disease patients and neuroprotective effects in experimental Parkinson's disease model mice. Now, what we learned in this study is that hydrogen stimulated a beautiful hormone called ghrelin, G-H-R-E-L-I-N. And this helped the brain function normally. And it had, again, neuroprotective effects, but Parkinson's disease modification. And so that is very powerful finding. They compared atenolol to hydrogen, and hydrogen produced more ghrelin secretions than anything else they could find. And so it was very, very special. They also found that there was no hydrogen going to the brain. It was ghrelin secretions that were responsible. And so within 3 to 5 minutes, we can see on this chart that I'm going to show you, this is 5 minutes after Dr. Kelly Miller. This is Dr. Kelly Miller's patient, a 62-year-old female. All he gave her was 16 ounces of Echo water. And you have the before, you have the after. You see a 32% change in plasticity in the brain. You see a 58% normalization of brain. This is a different brain in minutes after drinking 16 ounces of water. Significant differences. And when he sent this to me, he said, Paul, this is pretty friggin' amazing. I would never expect to see this with one of my patients until after doing 90 days of many things correctly that I told them to do. So imagine what would have taken him 90 days in the past, he now can accomplish in 3 to 5 minutes with giving them Echo water. This is how significant the effects are on the human body, and in this particularly the brain.
Dr. Paul.
So, yes.
I just want to say one thing. You said that it's 90 days as long as the person is doing exactly what he said, which I think a lot of times is part of the problem.
Right.
Because if it has to do with your client or a patient doing exactly what you say, I've run into people like, it's just too hard, or I don't quite want to do it, or what are you talking about 90 days? Like, seriously, what about 2 days? How about that? Right. And so I love that it's just drinking the water. Everyone's going to drink water anyway. So you might as well drink it in a way that benefits you immensely. I mean, everything so far that you've said, I mean, there's not just one reason to be
Right.
drinking the hydrogen water. There's like 100, but
Right.
each one is massive.
Right.
I mean, I have had 2 friends lately die of colon cancer. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're not that old, right?
Right.
They're not that old. And so really it's just essential. It really is. It's just really essential.
I agree. And to your point, compliance, when you have a client or a patient, depending on if they're there for medical disease or there for coaching or whatever, it's always compliance is your greatest issue. Because listen, when they're faced with a disease model, they are motivated to do what you tell them. The
Right.
second they're feeling better, even 10, 15%, they're like, I went back to drinking sodas. And, you know, the reality is keeping someone doing what you recommended or suggested that they do for 90 days is like telling them 100 years, because the reason they're in the situation they're in is because of non-compliance. They don't do what they're supposed to do to begin with. So when they are fearful, they'll do what you tell them.
Right.
The second things are going in the right direction, I'm staying up till 1 a.m. again. I'm not exercising. I'm,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. It's all good now.
Yeah. And then what do? They call you and they're like, well, I did what you said, but I don't feel any better. You're like, whoa. Let's go over that. You did what I said for 2 days, and then you went back to your old behaviors. And of course, you're going to get what you got before. So I appreciate you saying what you said, Cheryl, because the reason why I'm so passionate about this Echo Water as a modality is because compliance is high. People are not going to argue they shouldn't be drinking water. And when it tastes better and their body craves it and wants it because they are getting healing, they're going to do it. And if there's nothing else that they can stay compliant with, if it's the water, it's fixing their gut and it's allowing their gut to manage all kinds of systems on a daily basis that are really going to help them to thrive. And anything else you're asking them to do will feel better to them. Will, they won't fatigue as easy. They won't, if you're asking them to walk around the block or run around the block, they'll actually be able to do it without a ton of fatigue and what have you. So even people with ADD, ADHD, they will feel a clarity of mind within a very short time, like within minutes. And they will notice that. And of course, other people around them will notice that. And so this is why I feel it's one of the greatest things to implement, is because once you have people drinking this water, a lot of doctors that I train, I'll tell them, just have them drink the water and see what's left. And then whatever you see that's left, go ahead and help them with that. But it's going to be a much shorter list. So thank you, Cheryl, for that. And for those of you out there who are really wanting to help people in the simplest way and be the hero, this is the way to do it. You get Echo Water System into their daily lifestyle, and they're going to feel a lot of differences. I recommend you tell them to keep a journal, because people start feeling better. It isn't like they realize it. To be honest with you, they feel better and they just think that's what life is. And they forgot all the issues they were suffering from, unless they're keeping a journal and can go back and read what they were experiencing. And then they can read that they weren't experiencing that issue anymore, and then go, holy cow, all I did was change the water. Okay, Echo Water is amazing. I'm going to tell other people about it. So this is what we need to get them to do, is to keep some sort of a journal where they can be paying attention to, wow, every day I was feeling indigestion, I was feeling acid reflux, I was doing this. And interestingly, 2 days later after drinking, it wasn't in my journal. It wasn't in my journal anymore. All right. Yeah. So why would you choose Echo Water? Now, years ago, when I started talking about hydrogen water in 2009, everybody said, Dr. Paul, you're crazy. You're crazy. And of course, 2 years later, I was brilliant, right? And so sometimes that happens in life. Science has to catch up with what you're talking about. But now, not only has science caught up, but everyone and their mother has jumped into the hydrogen game, and they're talking about, everything in the world makes hydrogen. And you got to be careful. Back when I started talking about this, Echo was it. We were the first, we were the original. And so there was no question. Now you have all these companies that have alkaline machines saying they're hydrogen. You've got all kinds of stuff coming out of China on Amazon. And you got to be careful because very few of the products are actually legitimate. Very few of them are going to last more than 60 to 90 days. And people are going to waste the money. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is they're going to go, oh, well, okay, this isn't for me. And it's going to burn the bridge for an appropriate device like we make.
Yeah.
And so we want to tell people, be careful not to get sucked into these devices that are on, you know, Alibaba or Amazon or eBay or whatever, that are just products being dumped into the market to get someone's money at a low cost. The reason Echo is the best is it's the first and only true hydrogen water system in the industry. Everything else you have machine wise is alkaline water systems. And the unfortunate truth with alkaline systems is if they have calcium in their water, it's going to bond onto the electrodes, the cathode particularly, and you'll no longer be able to dissolve hydrogen gas in the water. And so you'll lose all the benefits within literally 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So what we need to understand is our system, the ecosystem, it's impossible for minerals to build up. It's impossible to have the scaling effect. And therefore, you always have hydrogen without having to clean a machine every 2 weeks, without having to do constant maintenance. And the other companies won't tell the customer this until after they have the machine, of course, and have their money. And then to return it, they have restocking fees and all this kind of stuff. You need to educate your clients that Echo is the best. And these are some of the reasons. All of our certifications that we have, the hydrogen certification to IHSA standards. IHSA is a big deal. You can see that it's the International Hydrogen Standards Association out of Japan. And what they knew was that there would be a lot of products coming out of countries like China that not all of them are appropriate. In fact, some of them are problematic. And so they created a certification. Now, we are currently the only company with water machines that are certified, that have been able to meet this certification. And what they say is you have to be able to use distilled water and dissolve 0.5 part per million of hydrogen gas in that water. Well, not only were Echo devices able to dissolve 0.5 part per million, but we did 1.5 to 4.5. And so there's no one else that's been able to accomplish this. And so it's very, very important. Let's look at our proprietary hydrogen module that is in all 3 of our machines to produce hydrogen. And I'm going to talk over this.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question really quick because I just want to, I'm not sure if this is, I think this is the right place to ask it. So when you're talking about the importance of the Echo water system, everything, I've seen like pills and stuff they sell. That is not even close to what we're talking about, right?
Correct. So one of the things that is critical is the studies, the 1,250 studies are talking about H2 gas, not Brown's gas, not oxygen gas, it's hydrogen gas. And so many of the products that are coming into the market are simply alkaline machines that they're mixing the acid water and the alkaline water. So you end up with what's called Brown's gas. The same thing is true for the tablets. The tablets that are dropped in water are separating water molecules, but you're not moving the oxygen out. So now you have an interesting chemistry, thing of H2, O2, what we call Brown's gas, and you have undissolved magnesium, unreacted magnesium, because the tablets are magnesium in an elemental state. And so you have a terrible taste of magnesium for most people that don't like the taste. It's extremely expensive. For a 16-ounce bottle might cost 60 cents for just the hydrogen tablet to go in it. And so I created the hydrogen bottles years ago so that they wouldn't have to keep spending money on hydrogen tablets. All they have to do is put water in a device like this, push a button, and next thing you know, hydrogen gas is going in. and you have oxygen coming out the bottom. That's the thing that people are not understanding. With these other products on the market, they're mixing the hydrogen and oxygen. And so you don't have true hydrogen water. You don't have the H2 where all the studies are showing. And so the tablets are not only are they terribly expensive, but they're not really giving you hydrogen water. They're giving you a mixture of Brown's gas and all kinds of things. In all of our products and devices, you have pure H2 gas. Oxygen has been moved out of the water so that you have the H2 gas helping the body, which is where the studies are. Great question, Cheryl.
And you're saying that everything we've talked about so far has to be the H2 in the water, that you created this machine that does that, or those little on-the-go bottles. That's it. Nothing else is going to do what we're talking about if we don't get the right one.
Correct. So you'll get different outcomes. You'll get maybe no outcome, because if you have an alkaline machine where you have scale buildup and you're not dissolving hydrogen gas anymore, you're just producing the gas and then it goes right out to atmosphere. And so you need a machine that will dissolve the hydrogen gas. If the gas is not dissolved, then you no longer are going to have the benefits, because we've got to get the hydrogen down into the gut so that you can change the colon. We can change the electrical potential. We can change the terrain and the biome of the gut. That is what we need. And that's all that matters, is fixing the gut and therefore fixing the immune function and the antioxidant aspect of the body. So understand that's what matters. And so all the other stuff in the market is like a dog and pony show when it comes to this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a quick video here, and I'm going to talk over it a little bit so that I'm explaining what you're seeing. So this is the Echo H2 server, and we're just doing an internal view of the module. So water's coming in, goes through the pump. Now it's being separated. You see parts going down, parts going up. The part that goes up is going into the electrolytic chamber, where we're going to separate hydrogen and oxygen gas. You can see the water's coming down. And here's an exploded view. We have, number one, I'm going to pause this if I can, but it might mess up. You can see on one of the sides, the anode, you're producing oxygen. On the other side with the cathode, you're producing hydrogen. And what do you notice? Water's not going past the proton exchange membrane to even be in contact with the cathode. So you cannot get mineral buildup on our cathode in our hydrogen module because water's never even touching it. So that's the beauty of the design of our module, is you can never get scale buildup. You can't get calcium or other minerals to bond. We are producing oxygen on one side, and that's going out the top of our chamber. The hydrogen is coming out the other side, and I'm going to continue playing so that you'll see where. Hydrogen is over on the left, and now you see that it's coming out. Right at this port is where the hydrogen gas is being pushed out of the chamber, and you're going to see in a second where an assembly goes over top of that to force the water and the hydrogen to be dissolved. Now, one of the patents on this module is you can see there's a little channel that the water is going to go through, and that is what we call a venturi circuit or a dissolving chamber. This makes it so that we always hit saturation point, which is 1.6 parts per million of hydrogen gas at 1 atmosphere. This is part of the patented process. So let's go ahead and keep playing. You can see the hydrogen gas, and now the assembly comes over it. And right here, this water coming down never was in the chamber to begin with. One of the things that is absolutely proprietary with us is the water you're drinking was never in the electrolytic chamber. It never touched electrodes. That's very different than anything else in the market. Here you see water coming through, and then right at that point where the hydrogen is being introduced, the water and the hydrogen are now mixed together, and they're going to go through a channel or a dissolving chamber, a venturi circuit, that is going to allow them to be hitting saturation point, or the maximum amount of gas in the water. So right there in that red box, you see the water coming through and the hydrogen gas being dissolved into it so that you get the maximum amount of hydrogen that's able to be dissolved.
Wow. That's super cool.
Yeah. So now it comes out and up and out of the device, and now we have perfect hydrogen water. And that's what we get in our chamber with no other change. No other change. So now we can talk about the devices. This is the Echo Ultimate, which is our highest end device. It does produce 4 types of water, and I'm going to explain each one. Number 1, on the top left, you see H2 button. That's for hydrogen water. That is your drinking water. When you press the hydrogen or drinking water button, all that's happening is it's going through that chamber you just saw. We are changing the electrical potential to a negative 400 millivolts or negative 600 in this case. So, and we're changing it to a negative 600 because by the time it gets down into your gastrointestinal tract, we want it to be a negative 400 millivolts. We don't want it to be less than that. And it's got to go through the stomach, the duodenum or duodenum, down into the small intestine, down into the colon. We got to get it down into the colon. Now, if you don't dissolve the hydrogen gas, you're not going to get it in the colon and you're not going to fix the gut. So hydrogen water is going to be no change in pH. So we don't change the pH of the water. That's absolutely unnecessary. Our stomach is an acid environment. We don't ever want to put alkaline things in our stomach. It is completely counterintuitive to put anything alkaline into our stomach, because when you do, your stomach has to produce more HCl, stomach acid, to reduce the pH back down. So you're putting a burden on the body. And if someone doesn't have hydrogen and you're forcing them to create stomach acid, they can't. So you end up with acid reflux and other issues because the body can't produce the appropriate amount of acid. And yet you're giving them quote unquote alkaline water or something else. It's not good for them. So the hydrogen water, we're not changing pH. We're putting 1.6 parts per million of hydrogen gas or more into the water. We're changing the electrical potential of the water to help the gut and to be an antioxidant. And that's something they should drink all the time. They can drink it all during the day. They can drink it as much or as little as they want. It's up to them. Now, the other types of water we have, if you go from the top right, there's alkaline water. Now, we don't recommend that they drink that. We know some people do, but we don't recommend that they do because there's no reason to put a higher pH solution into your body. Now, what do we use the alkaline water for? Cleaning, dirt, rinsing your vegetables before you cook with them, your meat, your poultry, fish, whatever it is. If you want to clean dirt, you use the alkaline water, and there's 4 levels. There's alkaline 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of those levels is going to go up 1 pH. So if you start at 7, level 1 would be an 8, level 2 would be a 9, level 3 would be a 10, and beyond. That's for cleaning dirt. The next one down, the orange button, is acid water, and that is for disinfection. That is for cleaning bacteria and viruses. And so amazing, water's coming through this machine and we're producing hypochlorous acid. This is 80 to 200 times more kill power than bleach, but it's non-toxic. So if you have food poisoning or you have some other issue or eczema or psoriasis or dry eye or pink eye or, skin issues or whatever, or you just want to have a chemical-free kitchen and clean your countertops, disinfect them, you can use the acid water for that. And then finally, the green button on the bottom right is filtered. Now, all water coming through the machine, all water coming through is filtered, but this would be shutting off any other alteration. If you have, your child is on the soccer team and you're creating a big, huge, or those orange Rubbermaid containers that have, water for the team, and you're putting Gatorade powder or whatever, sometimes you just want to put filtered water in there because it's going to be sitting out there all day. And hydrogen, would go little by little all day long anyways. And so you're just filling up large containers. You don't have to use the hydrogen water for that. So those are the 4 types of water: filtered only for tea and coffee in large containers, hydrogen water for drinking, alkaline water for cleaning dirt, acid water for disinfection. Now, there is a filter in this machine that removes heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, glyphosate, all the stuff you'd want removed out of water. If they want to remove fluoride, there is a separate fluoride filter that's $50, and they got to replace it every 6 months. But understand that the filtration that's in this machine is very, very robust. Now, that does have a 7-inch color touchscreen, 10 languages. People that speak different languages can change the language, and the words on the screen and the language will be different. This machine will automatically change 110 or 220 for worldwide use. If we ship it some other country where there is 220 or 230 voltage, it will automatically adjust. This machine can be countertop, or you see a faucet there on the screen with a 3-inch color touchscreen. That is what the faucet looks like. And then the machine would be below counter and out of sight. All you would have is a very beautiful faucet, which comes in 3 finishes. And the next slide, you'll see what those 3 finishes look like. But this machine does have a 10-year warranty and is our top of the line. There is your 3: brushed nickel in the center, oil bronze on the left, and chrome on the right. And that would be in order of how we sell them. Brushed nickel is always the top one, and then oil bronze and chrome. These are metal faucets. They're very high-end faucets, 3-inch color touchscreen, and they're heavy. They're a real metal faucet. The reason there are 2 arms on them, people ask, if you're doing the hydrogen water or the filtered only, it's just going to come out the top and nothing's going to be coming out the bottom, shorter faucet arm. If you're doing the alkaline water, alkaline will come out the top, acid water would come out the lower or the shorter one, and vice versa. If you were choosing acid water, it will come out the top and the alkaline will come out the bottom. Anytime you're changing pH, you are creating 2 water streams. Okay, let's get into the Echo H2 machine. This makes 2 types of water. So the Ultimate made 4 types of water. This makes 2 types: filtered and hydrogen, which of course is also filtered. This machine is really for health improvement. The other machine was if you want a chemical-free kitchen, you're growing plants, roses, and you want to put the acid water, your plants in your house will thrive, your roses will thrive. You know, a lot of different, if you're doing herb garden, of course, that water is excellent. If you're just looking for health improvement, this is the machine. If someone's wanting a standalone machine with filtration included, and they want a countertop or under sink, you have the faucet there in multiple finishes as well. This will produce 1.6 parts per million. It'll tell you when to change the filter, just like the Ultimate. There's no pH change during the processing of the water. Automatically starts working whenever water is flowing through the machine. And again, 10-year warranty. This is the Echo H2 server. Now, there is no filtration in this device. You have to use it with a whole home filter, a reverse osmosis, some sort of filtration system in your home. You cannot run tap water into this. Unlike the last 2 machines that we showed, you can run tap water in. This one has to be supplied water that has been filtered. So this is 1.2 liters per minute, 1.6 parts per million. Can be connected to the refrigerator. The nice thing about this machine is you can connect this to your fridge. If the water line going to your fridge is also under your sink, then you can put the faucet on top of the counter. You can also have the water line going to the fridge connected to this device, and it will supply both at the same time. This one is small, 9 by 9 by 4 inches, and it, again, is typically combined with a filtration system like this. This is our Echo RO, or stands for reverse osmosis. This is the cleanest water that you theoretically would have with the least maintenance in your home. It produces 1.2 liters a minute. There is no tank. This particular system makes it on demand, 1/4 gallon a minute of reverse osmosis water. There's no tank to do maintenance on. There's no issues with that. You just have what you see on the screen. That unit has a nice digital screen to show you your filter or cartridge life, and it shows you when it's flushing. I set it up and designed it so that every day, if you happen to be out of town or on vacation with your family or what have you, if you're away from this device for 24 hours and it's not used in a 24-hour period, it will automatically flush the system. So you never have standing water and you never have any issues. So this is an amazing, highest purification we have available. And it's only like around $600 for this unit. So this is our pitcher, and we're now going to start into the portable units. And what I mean by portable is you can take it with you. They're battery operated. You just charge the batteries. And right now with the pitcher, you in the past, you've had to put filtered water in it. We are now launching a filter with it, so you can pour tap water into it and it will produce 1.6 parts per million, almost a half a gallon of water. It's a 10 or a 20-minute running cycle to be able to produce the hydrogen gas in. It is BPA-free plastic. It's a lithium-ion battery, rechargeable USB-C charging cable will work with it. And so this is an excellent unit for travel, for RVs, for whatever. If you've got a son or daughter at college, it's great for them to have good water, help them study better. So this is the EcoGo Plus. This is our sport bottle, 10 ounces of water and a 5 or a 10-minute cycle. It's rechargeable lithium-ion battery, USB-C cable, up to 20 uses. And again, 5-year warranty on this. You have the other products on Amazon that are like 6-month warranties. This is a 5-year warranty on this device. It's a real product, right? It's not just, something they want to sell you. This is the EcoGo. So this was our original bottle. We had this one, then we made the EcoGo Plus, which is just a little bit more beautiful, higher end, produces more hydrogen, up to 4.5 parts per million. The EcoGo is less money, a little bit smaller. So it's, some people that like things that are smaller, they can take it around with them. It is a 9.5 ounce capacity versus a 10 ounce. And again, in both of these sport bottles, you have to put filtered water in. You cannot put tap water. You cannot put anything in there that's not already filtered. And again, both of them will automatically change 110 or 220, along with the pitcher as well. They will all change to 110 or 220. The only device we have that will not automatically change voltage is the Echo H2 machine. That has a slide on the back that you can change from 115 to 230. And that's the only machine. Everything else will automatically adjust to worldwide voltage. Now, this is our Echo Clean. When I talked about the Echo Ultimate, it made the acid water, the hypochlorous acid water. This also makes the hypochlorous acid model. So if someone says, hey, I want to save money, I want to get the Echo H2, or I want to get the Echo RO and the server combination that's under my sink, but I also want to clean my counters with this amazing hypochlorous acid water, how do I do that? Well, they just purchased this bottle in addition to the other device. And all they do is put water, tap water in it, plug it in because it's not rechargeable, plug it in and push the button on the front. And 3 minutes later, they're going to have a disinfectant. This is EPA registered. They can add salt. It does come with a little scooper that they can add salt if they want to add salt. That just heightens the effect. It creates a more potent cleaning if they're doing hard surfaces or whatever. If they're spraying it on their skin, their eyes, what have you, then we would prefer they not use the salt. But it is convenient because it's already in a spray bottle and it has an amazing kill spectrum.
So, Dr. Paul, so you said that if people are spraying it on their body, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can use this for acne.
Yes.
I think every teenager would love that.
Oh yeah. So the Echo Ultimate makes the acid water, and some people call it beauty water. The same thing will be true here. And they call it beauty water because it helps the skin. There's a natural acid mantle on the skin, and this hypochlorous acid will support that. People that have psoriasis, eczema, acne, different issues going on, it will help them hugely. So this just happens to be in a wonderful format that's easy to grab it, put water in it, push a button, and then use a spray bottle instead of getting your own spray bottle. But this is a great solution that we have.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So this is our whole house system. This is, if you own a home, you want to filter all the water in your home for showering so that you don't dry out your hair, dry out your skin faster than you should. This is going to remove pesticides, heavy metals, fluoride, viruses, bacteria, algae, all these kind of things will be removed. And this has a life cycle of 1 million gallons of water for chlorine removal, 500,000 gallons for chloramines. And so it's a maintenance-free system for 7 to 10 years in your home. The only thing that you would have to do is these, in the picture, you see the white Spunbond filters. The one on the left is a pre-filter. The one on the right is a post-filter. You can wash them out or you can replace them. We have them for sale, or if you want to be frugal, you can wash them out every 3 months or so. But this is an excellent system, very good price as well. And this literally makes it where all the water in your home you could be drinking out. I'm not saying you should, but it will be pure and clean with the contaminants removed. And it's a very, very robust filter.
So if I'm on a well, which I am on a well, and we can't drink the water because it has some
sulfur.
Yeah, it has something bad in it. And so we never drink the water. So this would be perfect for that. And it would make sure it has heavy metals in it. So it would get all that out.
It will. And you may want to get a softener in addition if you're on a well. If you're on city water, this is all you'll ever need. If you're on a well, depending on what's in there, we can end up, having a softener and this. It just depends on what's going on. But yes, in many cases, this will be perfectly fine. In some cases, people will want additional things to be able to be used. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So people are going to ask you, why would I drink hydrogen water? And this is your 10-second answer. Repairs the gut, reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, and increase cognitive or brain function. And that's literally 10, not even 10 seconds. But if you tell them it's going to repair the gut and improve immune function, help with diseases and neuroprotective, everyone should want these things. If someone tells you, no, I don't want my brain function to be better, maybe they're not the right client for you, but
they need it more.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I can tell you really need the hydrogen water with you just saying that. But the reality is, this is your 10-second, elevator pitch or whatever. This is what it's going to do for you. And every single human being needs this. So let's talk about some testimonials.
I'm at a phase in my life where, because I understand the importance of water, I want the best that I can buy. So I have an Echo water system that really has upgraded my health because it produces hydrogen, which is good for your gut. It's good for oxidative stress. When I was competing as an athlete, I didn't know about that. That was something I would have loved to have had back then because my body was so stressed. When you think about a lot of the disease that people are dealing with now, that's what it is. Inflammation, issues with their gut. When I even think about my father, and Parkinson's, and I think about family members that have diabetes and that have Crohn's, and it's like, I just want to be like, here, take some of this water so it can heal you, and it can allow your body to do what it was designed to do.
So Layla has become a very dear friend, and the water has helped her tremendously. She's a big fan and allows us to use her image and her testimonials. She's amazing. So here's one that says, I was introduced to the water by our chiropractor and was impressed by the science. Tastes great. And then what do they say? It supplies energy, mental support, and lift to my life. They were 80 years old. Here is, I love my Echo machine. First thing I noticed was the inflammation in my knees started to go away, and then the joints felt better. I was able to stop taking many of my meds. So this is, wonderful people. Here's another one. I'm drinking, helps keep this person healthy at 77 years old. And they're saying more energy and increased memory, which is wonderful. So that's the presentation. I hope it's helped many of you have a reason why you would like to recommend EcoWater to your clients. This is an excellent way to improve health in others. It's an excellent way to have them being able to accomplish their divine potential, and for you to increase revenue in your practice and what you do every day to help people. And I tell you what, when people start feeling better, they want to start telling other people, because other people start noticing, hey, what's going on? You look so much better. And so very, very important, I would say, very important for people to be able to recommend this with confidence. You know, we're not a new company. The first Echo machine shipped in January 2012. So we have shipped thousands upon thousands of machines, and it's helping millions of people across the world.
Outstanding. So Dr. Paul, as you know, I have my master's degree in nutrition, and unfortunately I had to take all these chemistry classes, which back then I didn't understand why in the world I had to take all this until talking with you. But from what I understand, and that I want you, would you love for you to expand on this, is the fact that we're talking about free radicals in our body, the oxidative stress, and that free radicals are missing a hydrogen atom in their outer shell. And really, at the Institute of Holistic Health, we promote people taking antioxidants all the time because they have an extra hydrogen in the outer shell, which is going to counteract that and kill the free radicals. I'm thinking to myself, when I first met you and you were explaining this all to me, I was like, wow, if there was a way to flood our body with hydrogen, we would could do amazing things with killing free radicals in our body and preventing oxidative stress.
For sure. I mean, when we talk about electrons, when we talk about electron donors, when we talk about radicals, we talk about this kind of thing. Hydrogen is definitely electron rich. With hydrogen, it's a signal modulator. So not only are we moving electrons and completing outer shells, but in many cases, hydrogen is a modulator of pathways. And so just by virtue of having hydrogen in the body will cause certain pathways and responses to occur that without hydrogen would not occur. And so when I say that hydrogen is critical, I'm literally using that word, because if you don't have hydrogen gas, then these systems will not function. It's like the manager in an office, right? Manager's home for the day sick. I can guarantee you that office is not running the way it normally would without the manager there, because people are like, woohoo. So the body is like that in a way. Without that coordinator or the manager there, which hydrogen is, things aren't working. And so hydrogen is what we call a signal modulator, where it is giving direction to all these things to happen. We don't need a ton of hydrogen. We just need it present. And it's so critical. There are, again, what I started out with in the very first slide, it's so critical that our bodies are designed to produce hydrogen on their own. To have that hydrogen gas into our system and into the body so that we can manage the antioxidant pathways, we can manage the brain function, we can manage all these things. And so it's very, very, very important that we have these things. So some things, antioxidants work as electron donor. In hydrogen's case, it's just completing systems. It's telling things to work properly. It really depends on each of the different processes we're talking about, what exactly is happening. Like when we talk about hydroxyl radicals, that typically is in the mitochondrial respiratory chain, and you have oxygen radicals being produced through energy production, and carbs and carbohydrates and sugars being broken down into oxygen radicals. Hydrogen will produce the energy needed for ATP, so people won't naturally be carb loading and sugar loading. And so that needs to happen. And so when we look at energy production, we look at ATP, and we look at athletes, for example, that are putting a demand on their body, hydrogen will stop the hydroxyl radical from being formed. And that's how we increase energy. But then we can look at other systems in the body like diabetes, or we can look at Parkinson's, and that's all about ghrelin secretions. And so you have a lot of different hormones, a lot of different systems in the body that are being modulated by hydrogen. And so it's not just one answer for all of these systems. It's going to be, which pathway. I mean, if we're talking NRF1, NRF2 pathways, we're talking about, all kinds of different things. It's going to be a little bit of a different answer, because sometimes we start looking at enzyme actions in the body. And catalase, for example, is a big one that functions with hydrogen, where catalase upregulation changes mitochondrial respiratory function. And that's what we're finding, is that hydrogen will increase catalase in the body. And so, when it gets into all these things, it gets into a deep dive with chemistry, but it's the one common dilemma, the one common thing is hydrogen is responsible.
Yep. Yeah. When you look at, just the two top causes of death being cancer and heart disease,
yeah,
being able to kill these free radicals and the oxidative stress in our body. And with heart disease, the number one reason for heart disease is the inflammation in the body. Correct. So anything out there that can reduce inflammation is something everyone should be taking a look at, because that is causing not just heart problems, but every other problem in the world.
Right.
So reducing inflammation, killing free radicals. I feel tremendous amount of energy with this, where I used to, maybe need a cup of coffee or whatever during the day. I don't even crave that anymore. I'm seriously, it's just a great even energy all day long. And the cognitive function, like you said, we're always looking for ways to think clearer, get rid of that brain fog. I think the number one complaint at doctor's offices is always, doc, I'm tired,
exactly.
Or I feel like I have this brain fog. And to fix those two things and make headway on that is just incredible. So I am blown away by the product, by your information. We're super honored here at the Institute of Holistic Health to back this product. And Cheryl, I know you're just as excited as I am to offer this product, not only to the coaches, but have the coaches the ability to have the affiliate program to offer this to all their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. And like I said before, like just one of the things is mind blowing, but there's so many different things that it can do. There's just so many different things. And I think exactly what you said. So many people are suffering, and just to be able to offer them something that will help them really quickly, right? And they're going to drink water anyway. You're going to drink water anyway. You might as well put the hydrogen, in it with one of these different things. So, I love it. I'm so excited. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Awesome. Just another piece of the puzzle. We're always looking here at the Institute of Holistic Health for another puzzle piece. We have obviously the supplements, the exercise, the meditation, the
spiritual
cold plunge.
Yeah, all the spiritual. We look at at 8 different parts of your life, right? It's not just one thing. It's all 8 that come together to make a beautiful life.
But this is an important piece right here to really elevate things and live that high quality life that we all want.
Well, 70% of your body, like the earth, 70% of your body is water. It's pretty important.
Yeah.
Really important. Yeah. So I'm drinking 100 ounces of this a day. Couple questions, Paul. So with that being one, 100 ounces a day, is that too little, too much? Any recommendations that amount?
The amount of water people should drink is different for each person because of their weight.
Right.
So I would always say half your body weight in ounces would be appropriate for hydration. For hydrogen gas, I like for people to get at least 3 times a day. It can and typically is your drinking water once you get our system.
Yeah.
But if we mimic the human body, the body you'd eat 3 times a day, you'd produce gas, flatulence 3 times a day. That's where the hydrogen would naturally come from to the body. If you were converting fatty acids and fiber, which again, if your gut is proper, you have the anaerobic microflora, then you have these beautiful things called hydrogen trophs that are converting short chain and medium chain fatty acids and fiber into hydrogen gas. That's how your body would naturally produce hydrogen 3 times a day. So if we mimic, we could get hydrogen 3 times a day. That's great. But one thing the people need to understand, after 1,250 studies, 3,000 articles, there's no contraindication. There's no way to get too much hydrogen. It's safe for babies, infants, people, old, young, purple polka dot, whatever, brown hair, blonde hair, beautiful people like Cheryl.
Oh, you're so nice.
It doesn't matter what, it's good for you. And I was telling someone the other day, there's even a study that was done out of Korea where if someone drinks the water during pregnancy, the IQ of the child was higher when it came out. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
So anyways, there's a million things. And also when you're pregnant, the inflammation in your ankles and stuff can be less. So there are many benefits. There's no reason not to do it. And here's the thing. A lot of people go, well, I'm still skeptical. You seem like a nice guy. I'm sure you helped your wife wonderfully. You're 51, you don't look dead already. So maybe it's helping you, right? So I would say if you're skeptical, start with the bottle. Again, all that happens, you push the button and boom, hydrogen. You can see hydrogen.
It looks so cool. That's right? Like my favorite.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I love it.
Yeah. So you got oxygen coming out the bottom, hydrogen going in. And if you get this bottle, by the way, there's your charging port. It's pretty clean. Anyways, if you get this one because you're skeptical, once it helps you, you're not going to fight the kids for this. You're not going to fight your spouse. It's going to be gone. And so you might as well get, and what I mean by gone is they're going to drink it faster than you are. Get a machine in your home. We even have financing, Canada, US, wherever, for as little as $100 a month, no money down. You can have a full system in your home to filter the water and have the hydrogen a quarter gallon a minute and be drinking it. And so this is really good for skeptical people, number one. Number two, when you're away from your machine, you have the ability to make the water. That is what it's for. It's not to replace the machine. It's to have it on the go, which is why we call it the Echo Go. But just do yourself a favor. And it's almost, this time of year, think about others, get gifts for people that really need it, but get it for yourself, love yourself, and you will feel a difference.
Awesome. I have one last question, Dr. Paul. So when the unit makes the hydrogen water, how long does the hydrogen last in the water? How long is the good water good for?
Excellent question. So if you have a glass that's open to the environment, the half-life, we had this tested in a laboratory with gas chromatography. So we really said, here, test our devices, produce the water, and then how long does it last in a glass? Like you would normally get, the half-life was 3 to 5 hours. So what that means is we're starting at 1.6 parts per million. After 3 to 5 hours, depending on the temperature of the water and whatever, you have 0.9 or 0.8. Okay. So that's still therapeutic because 0.5 is considered therapeutic. So after 3 to 5 hours, you still have a therapeutic concentration. And so we have coaching classes for those that can't drink water within 3 to 5 hours. If you can't drink a glass of water in 3 to 5 hours, we've got a program for you. And, but the reality is you should be able to drink it in a bottle. If you have a bottle that you can fill up all the way with no airspace and you can put a nice lid on it, now you can get up to 2 weeks. Before you start drinking it. Yeah, you're only going to lose 0.1 parts per million per day out of the container because hydrogen's so tiny, it'll go through metal, plastic, glass, it'll go through because it's really tiny. So just know that's why we don't sell water. We're actually selling the devices that produce it.
Right. Yeah, I have a question. I just thought of another question. So does it matter because I love cold water. So does it matter if I put ice in it? Will it still be exactly the same?
No, it's great. Okay. In fact, when you chill the water, it'll condense the water down and it'll hold it a little bit longer.
See?
But yeah, no issues.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent.
And it doesn't matter if I add things to it. Like, will the hydrogen still be the same? Like if I have a packet of minerals and I add the packet of minerals to it, the hydrogen is still in there. That's cool.
Yes. If you have these, don't add it into this, pour it into something else and add it. But with the hydrogen gas itself, you're not going to dislodge the hydrogen gas.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Paul, and we really appreciate you. And we are going to take this to the whole world.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.